The purpose of this video is to give you insight into the stage in your Roblox developer journey when you have self-doubts about your skills, or a game that you've been creating recently just feels lackluster or boring, or you're envisioning it to be unsuccessful after investing a lot of time into it. I want to share one of my experiences that I've had recently relating to this topic at hand. If you hit obstacles and never recover from them, your dreams will stay as dreams and not become a reality. Any dream that you wish to aspire requires hard work, commitment, and sacrifice. I'm here to tell you right now that these thoughts of self-doubt cannot be what gets the better of you. I honestly want you to reflect on the game that you've created. Let's say you're watching this video and you have a Roblox game that you're just doubtful of and you're not sure whether it's going to do well or not. Or you're a Roblox developer who's losing motivation to continue because your record of games just hasn't been going well. If it's a game, I want you to imagine if it doesn't do well, what can you salvage out of this game? Because let me tell you, there's always something in return with whatever you create. There's no such thing as a failed Roblox game. If you don't want your next project to fail, evaluate what you did wrong with this game so that you won't make the same mistake next time. If you genuinely think that you didn't salvage anything out of the game you were creating, that's not true. With anything that you're creating, you're gaining experience just by creating the game itself. And therefore, anything you make, anything you do, will always have an impact on the journey, your journey as a Roblox developer. Let's take a look at one of my recent games and see why it didn't do very well. This game is called Bombastic Battles, and I'm not trying to advertise this game for you to play it or anything. I just think this is relevant to what we're talking about here in this video. But the basic premise of this game is that this is a round-based sort of game where you're thrown into a map with other players and you're provided with bombs, and the objective is to throw them at other players and be the last one alive. The game also consisted of other game modes related to the default one being free-for-all, like Hot Potato or Juggernaut. So just imagine if you combine Murder Mystery with Epic Minigames. It's kind of similar to that if you've played both of those games before. So now that you have an idea of what this game is about, let's look at why the game didn't really do well. And I think one of the biggest problems that this game had was a lack of a fan base. Now, keep in mind, this game is a round-based game, meaning that in order for this game to function, you would need at least 2 people in order to play this game at all. This is not a game you can just play alone, and so there needs to be a player base playing this game in order for it to really get anywhere. And because we started from the ground up with no fan base whatsoever, this was one of the big reasons why getting this game out there was really difficult, because players were very crucial if we wanted this game to get big. And due to our lack of a fan base, the game never took off and we never gained popularity. Another big reason why I think this game didn't do so well is because this was a game idea that was thought of way back in the day, like 2015, 2016, like 6, potentially 7 years ago. This game idea was actually created by my friend who was one of the builders and project manager for this game. This thing that's going on, this whole game idea was one of his dreams for so many years, and it never became a reality until last summer of 2022, when him and a few of his friends, including me, decided to come together and create this game. We had so much fun making this game, and despite the fact that we were many years behind in the development stage of this game, we still made it for the fun of it. It was kind of at this point, though, that we realized that by the time we finished making this game, it didn't seem like the kind of game you would play in modern day Roblox. And keep in mind, this was the summer of 2022. This idea originally came out like roughly 6, 7, or 8 years ago in 2016, 2015, around there. if we made this game back then, it probably would have been really popular because round-based games like these were very popular for its time. But because Roblox games nowadays made a shift to more games that can be played alone or single-player games that have the option to play with other people, in this case, we were sort of late to the party and we missed our opportunity to create a game that would have done very well back then compared to now. Another thing is we were pretty desperate to try to keep a stable fan base when we did release the game, so we just kept deciding on adding random stuff that didn't really add much to the table in terms of improving the gameplay mechanics and, things like that. We just decided to add random stuff to show that we were active and to make it look more presentable. And one final nail in the coffin as to why our game failed was because of our lack of funds. Now, don't get me wrong, we had a sizable amount of Robux to be able to create advertisements and sponsorships and whatnot to get our game out there to new players, but it just was not enough, to put it simple. Since this game was a round-based game, we needed a sizable player count of players playing the game at a fast rate so that you would have other people to play against. That was our whole model of the game. And because we failed to achieve that, that was one of the things that hurt our game the most. I guess you could say this links to our lack of a player base, because in order to get a player base, you need to be able to present the game to players without like trying so hard. Wait, no, that's not right. What I'm trying to say is, like, you need to be able to present the game to players who have never seen this game before. And we were unsuccessful with our marketing and getting the game out there, which is one of the reasons that our game didn't do very well. And so after releasing our game to the public and after seeing the results that we didn't want, we kept on trying to make it work by adding new updates, but these updates ended up being pointless in the end anyways. And other means necessary that we tried was reaching out to more people, like YouTubers, to play the game for us, but that was also unsuccessful. And after all of those failed attempts, we finally decided to leave this game under the rug for the time being until something else happens in the future, whether that's a new project or something like that. Like, we decided to make this change around early August of 2022. We may not have gotten what we wanted with, like, the whole commercial success aspect, but that's not to say we didn't get anything out of this at all. You should always look at the brighter side of things. If something goes wrong or something that you create doesn't go the way that you wanted it to. The way I saw our loss was not a loss at all. If anything, I actually saw it as an investment and a positive thing in the end. For the longest time, we were making this game and we wanted this game to do commercially well, and we wanted this game to attract a fan base who would have had fun playing the creation that me and my friends have made. That's what we wanted, but we ended up not getting it. If I didn't achieve the objective that I strived for, then why am I considering this a positive thing? I take our loss as a positive thing for 4 reasons. I'm going to be listing all these 4 reasons sequentially. So the first reason why I think this is a positive thing is that I had so much fun making this game with my friends. I'm not kidding when I say that this was the most fun I've ever had creating a Roblox game throughout my entire Roblox developer journey. I've worked on Roblox projects alone. I've worked on Roblox projects with other people before, but these other people were just business partners, I guess if you want to call it, and they were not really my friends. The reason I had so much fun making this game was because I loved making Roblox games, and my friend who came up with this game idea all those years ago, I've known him for I think about 7 years now. Not only was I making a game with someone who I consider a friend and not a business partner, but he had other friends working on the game too, which created this fun little social environment where we would spend almost every day, several hours every day actually, hopping on calls, hanging out, and working on the game. I knew that in the back of my mind, what I was driving towards was financial success, but in reality, I took for granted the enjoyment I got from creating this game with my friends, whether we were going to be successful with it or not, and that is something I value very heavily. The second reason why I think I take this as a positive thing rather than a negative thing is that making this game that we actually made was a completed game that had mechanics that can definitely be used in future Roblox projects. One thing I learned is that I heavily undermined my coding or scripting capabilities because I was able to make features that I didn't know I was capable of making. I made a fully fledged round-based system. I made a shop system with bombs, skins, pets, radios, and even perks. I made a full-on inventory system with these skins. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make a proper working trading system, but that would have been pretty amazing if I did. If I actually was able to, but my point being is that if I were to ever make a game in the future, I can take a lot of things that I created in this game, incorporate it into my new game without making anything too complicated, without taking a lot of time into actually making this thing all over again. Like, for example, if my future game had an inventory system similar to Bombastic Battles, then I can just take it directly off of that and put it into the new one to make the development process for this new project faster, which would take less time than if I were to make an inventory system from scratch. I didn't waste my efforts on something that didn't do well because I've now built features that I can use to create even bigger and better projects in the future. The third positive thing about having an open mind about a failed Roblox game is, remember when I said that we didn't create the community that we wanted to create? That's not exactly entirely true. By the end of our development for the game, we actually did keep a few number of people who supported us the whole way through and are still continuing to support us for our future endeavors. We did gain a very small community, but that doesn't mean we gained no community at all. We now know for next time, when we try to put our game out there, we have more resources to utilize and try to not make the same mistake we did for Bombastic Battles. The last personal positive that I got from this experience, or this failed game of ours, was the overall development process I got out of the whole thing. I'm currently studying computer science in college right now, and let me tell you how great of a story working on Bombastic Battles is when I'm trying to get like an internship or a job during the interview process. I was doing a practice interview with an employer for a company that I was familiar with, and when they asked me a behavioral question about an experience of working with other people to accomplish a task or an objective, I told him all about my experiences during the summer, where I created a Roblox game with my close friends online, and we even worked in different time zones to accommodate for when we hopped online to work on the next thing for Bombastic Battles. My employer loved my response and even told me that if this was a real interview and if they asked me the same question, I can tell them that same story and that will boost my chances of getting the job or an internship that I want. And I felt really happy about that. To think that a game like Bombastic Battles not doing commercially well, I thought of the positives. If you truly believe that the game you created didn't do well, that you wanted it to, then you need to try and see the positives in the game that you create. I see them as an investment because nothing you create is a complete waste. There's always something salvageable to get out of that, and that's one thing I try to look for in the things that I create, and I think you should as well. Like the points that I've mentioned earlier in this video, there's other ways of discovering the salvageable parts out of the games that you're creating. Like, for example, the enjoyment of the game that you're creating. If you genuinely had fun making the game, I count that as a success in my book. Or if you make more Roblox games in the future, you can always take what you made previously and incorporate it into your new game. I believe that success comes in many forms, especially when I initially thought success just meant having lots of players playing my games and gaining a huge revenue stream. That used to be my definition of success, but I realized success comes externally when you believe that the things you achieve are valuable to you. Don't let yourself down and give up on what you want to achieve, because Realistically speaking, out of all the games that you would create throughout your development lifetime, maybe about like 5% of all the games that you create will gain this commercial success that a lot of developers nowadays strive for. It might be even less than 5%, who knows? In reality, every single game that you create on Roblox has meaning and has a reason to exist. Even mentally, it shows you how far you've gotten in your career. You will look back on the games you first started creating, and it will be a huge motivator to see how you've become in terms of the quality of the game or the size of the game. Your games will evolve alongside with you, and that's how you should be thinking about this. I'm going to leave off this video with this message. If you genuinely have doubts about your game not doing well, or your development journey as a whole not going well, I want you to reflect on why you think they're not going well and what you can do to improve. Don't harshly criticize on your capabilities, and look more into what you think you will get out of the game you are making rather than dismissing it and blaming yourself for it. Because I understand being a developer is mentally draining, and it's easily discouraging, especially with how competitive the games are nowadays. But all I can say is, I believe in you and your capabilities, and I hope you find success in what you create for this platform. See you in the next video.